final countdown. Seth and Steve McKinney are with us. Guys, I don't know if you heard any of the earlier segment. Billy called me Dr. Apathy.
Oh, why is that?
Because I'm just like...
You've lost it?
I think I lost it a while ago, to be honest with you. Like, to be very honest, like a while ago. But like...
When did you lose that loving feeling? The Tennessee game?
19, yeah, it might have been the Tennessee game. Mm-hmm. But I kept on thinking, all right, but there's still another benchmark out there. All right, well, we got Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, technically we still have LSU, but that's just...
Yeah, LSU would just be a saving grace at this point.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's been that kind of season, you know. It's one of those where you had opportunities in front of you to, you know, kind of take that next step, and they just couldn't do it for whatever reason. A lot of times it was just them, you know, hurting themselves, not being disciplined enough or making mistakes and not capitalizing.
You guys in '96. What are you talking
about? Billy's always good for that. He's always good for that.
That's a full episode there.
I'm projecting because I've had to sit through too many of them.
Dude, I'm not the guy that comes on here. I'm not the former player that comes on here and just bashes the team. You know?
I'm not either.
Because I've been there.
By the way, I am not either. By the way.
People want.
You're trying to say, you're trying to act like it's me.
Seth got so defensive, right? No, Seth's not.
I got defensive. I think you got defensive.
Well, I mean, Seth's just saving it for Twitter.
Twitter guy.
Seriously, though, like everybody's frustrated. So what I think everybody appreciates about you guys is you call it like it is. You can be pretty blunt about things, players, coaches, coaching strategies, how the season's going. But yeah, you're not. I don't think anything you guys do is bashing. Some people want bashing. That's not how we do it.
Yeah, seems like a lot of people want that.
Well, it gives you that pound of flesh. I mean, it's just like dating back to the olden days. They had pitchforks and torches, and they'd go up the hill, and everybody would storm to the person's house and try to drag them out. And I mean, so it's human nature.
Yeah, I guess so. It's odd to me. Like people like crave it. Like they want you to be negative, and I'm like, why? What's the point of that? Like we see what's happening. It's not like they're not trying. Right. I mean, they're working hard. If you watch that second half and you came away with any feeling other than they played their heart out and you could tell that they haven't given up and they wanted to win, then you're choosing to believe the other, because that's all I saw Saturday.
But that I would attribute that to honestly to our players, because they flipped the script from the first half to the second half, and whatever you could go to town on the first half, but the second half, they, like you said, they were out there, everything they had, and they turned it around. The offensive line was playing a lot better. Max was playing a lot better, and they executed well, but they just couldn't get it done.
I mean, dude, it sucks they came up short, but Billy, I know you guys have probably talked about it all week. You went into that game with a defense that had both your starting cornerbacks out against
no one was planning for that one.
Against the team that throws the ball down the field. You knew it was going to be a problem.
Not only that, but both your starting corners out, and to where you were playing two guys that had essentially really not combined maybe 30 meaningful reps of college football.
Right. I mean, you were so behind the eight ball going into that game. The fact that you were ahead with 4 minutes to go, we should all be like surprised by that.
I can't believe they got me though to a point where I was like, we're winning this thing.
And that was the dagger.
Because I was like, right with that defense on the field, and I know they struggled against Ole Miss Saturday, and I do think DJ Durkin hasn't, even with those corners out, and that's a big part of it. But going back to last year and looking at Tennessee, which they bent but didn't break, but Tennessee dropped at least one, if not two, touchdown passes. But I do think there's a schematic where it's a matchup problem against his style of offense for his style of defense. Now, other teams, he suffocates, chokes them out, and they've done Durkin is not the problem. They've done a hell of a job this year.
Yeah, defense.
But on Saturday, I was like, it hadn't been an easy day. I just felt like A&M was going to get a sack or a forced fumble or an interception.
That's what they needed.
Yeah, and I thought they were. I really did, and they couldn't do it. Now, what you were saying, I wanted to go back to. I think this year you have to break this whole analysis and kind of, if you're trying to hand down a judgment on all things Aggie football right now. I think you have to separate this season and the last 6 seasons. I think this season has been one of frustration near misses, really bad breaks, and again, like this team, you're like, damn, they literally just took number 10 to the last play, and they came back, and they did it with backup quarterback, and they did it with two corners that had never played, and they took 10 to the last play on the road.
Go ahead.
Oh, but I'm saying, so this season has been one where you almost like, I feel bad for it. I feel bad for the players. I feel bad for the coaches. I feel bad like they're coming so close, and it's like every week in some way the deck gets stacked against them more, and they're still getting right there, and it's frustrating as hell. But I think you have to look at the whole 6 years to say, how does this ever turn around? How, like, explain to me the path to get through this and turn this thing around, because it's hard to see it when you take the totality of the 6 years. And I know there was a point where we almost saw it flip, and we were talking about it earlier. There was a point 2020 into 2021 where it almost flipped. It was very promising at the beginning in year close, one, but it didn't happen. And the arrow has absolutely been pointing down since, but it's tough.
No, you're right, but it can still flip, is what I choose to believe, because they were so close this year. Mm-hmm. They're not getting blown out. They should have won every game they've been in this year, right? And that's why we're frustrated. But Seth, it can flip. First of all, we got to win on the road. Mm-hmm. We got to get that monkey off our back. It's ridiculous that we can't win on the road. And it's not like we're playing bad teams on the road either. However, if you want to get to where we want to get, you better change something in the way you approach road games.
They don't sound interested in changing.
You need to, though. You have to.
Going back to it, like you're talking about this frustration, and the one season I go back to is, and I don't know why. I mean, there's a lot of seasons you could point to, but this is like 2011, probably the most frustrating football season in A&M history, was when you had good teams go out there, but they couldn't win. They got up. It's a different story, but similar theme.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. We can't win the games that we should easily have won, and we're not doing that. And, you could point to injuries. You could do all the things that we just mentioned, but it just all adds up to an unreal level of frustration for this season.
I remember something when I really was down on A&M football, and like people was, why did you say this then? Well, I don't want to come in here and throw an active, but it made me just go, ugh. It was that 2011 season, and A&M was losing a ton of close games.
Yeah, that was rough.
And there was a game, and there was a guy who was right in the center of kind of why A&M lost a game. Okay. Road game. Team gets back late at night. And it was like you would have had to have raced to get to the bars by the time that was over with. And this was back, and I was out. People say I'm out every night. They don't know me.
Not anymore.
But I was out there, and a small group of players showed up in their warm-ups after a loss. I'll say the game was after a loss at K-State, where it was overtime. They were not good, and they raced to get out and make it to the bars by 2 a.m. And to me, that was like what I was talking about earlier. Like, how does a culture change? And it's like, it's kind of a chicken. And at first, I think it's the head coach. And what kind of culture do you create? And ultimately, it comes back on Jimbo. But also, you can only do your thing as a coach. Y'all probably have had coaches where this is in play. You can only do your thing for so long before the message gets stale, because it's not paying off in the form of wins. Yeah. And that's where I fear is these guys aren't getting the payoff. And it's not just the coach's fault. They're to blame as well. Oh, absolutely. It's a coach player, it's a team thing. But to me now, it's like, where's the
No, it's a valid
payoff?
point. I mean, there is a point you get to as a player where you've heard the same speeches over and over for 3 or 4 years. And if you're not winning games and it's not getting better, then there starts to become that, I don't want to say apathy, but just that lack of faith
Yeah.
And, losing's a habit just like winning is.
Lack of faith in your coaches, your teammates.
Yeah. And so that's why winning a game like Ole Miss and even winning the rest of this season out and beating LSU and going winning a bowl game, like the only way that we're going to get things back on track for 24 is if we can change that culture, that mindset of, yeah, this does pay off. We are winning. We are on a winning streak. Let's carry that over into the next season. So, yeah, there's not a lot to play for. Mm-hmm. I get the apathy if you're a fan. However, we have to believe that these last 3 games really matter because I think they do going into the next season.
That's all you can do is hope and believe that they do matter. And if you want to go down that road, you got to hope and believe that matters to the players on this team, and it matters to the players in the portal, and it matters to these high school kids, because that's what really matters is keeping your team and then getting new talent on the team. And if it matters to those kids, that's all that really matters about this deal, because the coach – anyways, that's the big issue.
You got to – in 2023, it's always been this way, but now more than ever, you also got to keep your donors hopeful. And because imagine going to them now and saying, hey, we need to really ramp up things on the NIL front. Mm-hmm. And they're going,
For what?
Like what? Like wow. I felt like
we already
done that. Yeah,
we've already done it.
Where's that guy?
And that's not just an A&M thing. And David and I have talked about this. This is a college football 2023 thing. You think I heard TCU had about, and it's not going to sound like a lot, but it is a decent amount. I heard they had like $5 million across the board for their NIL, like all sports.
Yeah.
Coming off that national title game run. And they're like, we're not doing this again. They stink. And they're already like, that was too much for my comfort level as it was. I'm not doing this again now. For what? 1 year after their team played for the Natty, and there's already a distaste.
Yeah.
That's going to happen everywhere in the country that's not winning at the highest of level, and it's going to happen here. And
Well,
people have to, there's going to be a group of great Aggies that really step up and make sure it doesn't happen, or it will. And that's everywhere in college football. And the big winner right now are the Texas Longhorns, because they dodged losing to a miserable U of H team that they should have lost to. Terrible call. And they dodged losing to a mid Kansas State team because of a terrible coaching decision. But guess what? If they were sitting with 3 losses right now, a lot of people over there would be like, what the hell are we doing? Yeah. We're not even going to play in the Big 12 title game. All this money we spent. What's this coach doing with this talent?
They're not apathetic.
Just like that, it flips.
Yeah.
They're not apathetic at all. But
I just told you why, though.
No, I know it. That's what I'm saying.
Like that.
That's what I'm saying is that I feel like the big fear is that we are, and you were right when you said, like, the people that should be the most livid are the ones that are active in this. And it's a big deal. Like, that's real money. Like, that's real life, big time money that these guys have worked their butts off for. And they're doing that for the benefit of like all Aggies everywhere, right? So we should just it's got to be frustrating for them. And at what point does that stop? I mean, I don't know. I hope it doesn't.
Can you tell Nick to tell them to be quiet back there?
Hey, Nick, can you tell them to be quiet in the back?
Thanks, Dave.
You got it.
I mean, they're like, they don't, no matter how many times we say this, they don't understand that, like, yelling back there.
It's distracting.
Yep. Sorry, Seth. I was trying to listen to you.
So you said something, and it kind of struck me for a second, Steve. This year does feel better than last year. Like, with my eyes, I can see it. This is a better team.
No doubt.
For sure.
But last year ended in these same kind of losses. 3-point games, backup quarterback. And I think that's why I've hit a point. I'm like, we did this story last year. A&M made some necessary changes. You brought in a new offensive coordinator. You probably should have made some other changes as well.
Yeah.
Yet, you still got another quarterback hurt. You've lost potentially 2 this year, right? Like, it's the same story with a little bit better window dressing.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I feel the frustration. I know a lot of the hardcore fans are very frustrated by that and point that out a lot and talk about it a lot. But, I mean, how much of that is just being snake bit? How much of that is bad luck? How can luck change overnight? in one season, in one game. I mean, you see it happen around college football.
I was hoping that blocked field goal was going to be that for us.
It could have been, but I'm saying like that's to me that's being snake bit.
Yeah.
Like when you block the guys up front, that wasn't the offensive line, and the kicker kicks it 1 inch too low because you got a 6'7" guy, gets a fingertip, a fingernail on it maybe. I mean, it was 3 yards short. I mean, that's bad luck.
Yeah.
It's bad luck.
It's execution, but it's bad luck also. Because he probably could have kicked that same kick 10 times, and 9 times that little fingernail wouldn't have touched the ball. But in that one time, it did. So, do you throw the baby out with the bathwater? That's where we're at right now. And to me, we're too close to do that. Like I know it's frustrating, but man, we're so close. And if just the right culture develops over this offseason, the right guys get in there and go, we should have won every game last year. That was some bull crap. We're not doing that again. And you fix that mindset and beat Notre Dame next year early on. And then what happens after that?
I'm with you. I agree that it's possible to do that. My biggest fear in the whole thing is what I mentioned earlier is that I love it. Let's go do all that. Let's win it. Let's do that. Let's get unsnake bit. But how are you going to keep these kids on this team and motivated? That's it's a different world. It's even different than the NFL.
That's Jimbo's job at this point.
I felt like, though, here's my unlike a lot of people, when you're saying something that's fairly positive, I'm not doing this. Just visibly just showing that, hey, I disagree and I'm going to show this guy up that's trying to make a well thought out point. But I am going to say, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I think it would have to involve, obviously, beating LSU. Like, if you could beat LSU in a bowl game and beat Notre Dame in 3-game stretch, you're talking about things turning around in a hurry. I don't know if it gets there, because here's my only counter to that. I would say, I thought we did this last year. We beat LSU handily, thumped them with your young freshman quarterback to end the year
at home, though.
And it's true. It would be bigger over there.
We're two different teams,
but everyone comes in there and says the right stuff, and they meant it. These players, they said, yeah, we knew we were better than we showed last year. We knew we could have won all those games, and we're the reason. And you ended on the highest of high notes, and the carryover. And let's be honest. I think A&M with Connor Wigman is at, what are they in the SEC right now? They're 3-3. I think at worst they're 5-1 with Connor. Those games were so damn close anyway. And Max was really good against Ole Miss, but I think they win 2 of those 3, if not all of them. Forget that it's Connor, just a dynamic quarterback that gets rid of the ball quickly, can make up at times for some poor blocking or some unchecked. But reality-wise, they did get beat by 15 points by a very average Miami team with him at quarterback, because the O-line didn't protect. He got hammered.
In all fairness, we look at that score. Let's go back and watch the game.
Yeah.
The game was a lot closer than the score
That's
indicated.
we were talking about that earlier.
It really was. We gave him a lot of points.
My point, though, is the first thing someone would say would be, well, yeah, but the quarterback that beat LSU didn't play. Well, he did play against Miami, and he played well. Like, that was a gutsy effort. He threw a lot of yards, but he wasn't. You weren't able to overcome an average Miami team with him. This season is so frustrating, because I could take you, and I've talked it to death, but that little stretch, like 1 first down against Miami before halftime, is a 10 or 14 point swing. 1 yard from me to you on 4th down, is another 7 points. That game was so cool. We know about, Alabama, all the different plays that could have made it happen. Tennessee, Ole Miss, obviously there, a fingertip, or you're going to overtime. But it's 4 losses.
But
right?
let me just throw this in there, Billy, because I would argue, and I bet Seth would agree with me, that probably one of the biggest determining factors of how a team is going to win or be successful is on the offensive line.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
And I would also argue that the most successful offensive lines are what, Seth? Veterans.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
How many offensive lines do you see with 4- and 5-star talents as freshmen and sophomore go out and just run through a season?
Oh, it doesn't happen. It's just you just can't do it at that position.
So what are we last year? on the offensive line. What are we this year on the offensive line? Freshmen, this year we're a bunch of sophomores and freshmen. Yeah. Second-year starters, first-year starters, and Layden Robinson.
And Bryce.
So what are we going to be next year? That's the only point I'm trying to make, is that next year you're going to have a veteran offensive line, regardless of who's coaching them. You're going to have a veteran group.
I'll go back to what Seth said. Are you?
Should have a veteran
Who's leaving?
Yeah. And that's been our problem every freaking year. Is like we always go, but look what we got next year, and then something happens.
We thought you had an O-line on the right side that was going to be Foster, Robinson, and Fothery.
Yeah,
Fothery gets hurt, you're going true freshman.
So you don't know.
Yeah.
But ideally, if we can get a veteran offensive line coming back next year, I just feel like this everything's going to really fix itself a lot.
I feel like I've said that on the show.
I know. I was like, I'm trying not to be the guy that Billy's talking about, always trying to counter what you just said.
I'm over here sunshine pumping, dude.
You are, bro. I'm like, I'm trying to get on board with
good checks and balances. I like
you guys, come on, bring it on.
We need it.
This is not Fox News or CNN. We have mixed opinions up here every time.
Let's hit a break, studio.
McDonald's, sure.
Yeah.
Look at this.
It's good.
Branded,
Look at this McDonald's line.
Representing.
That's better than Mizzen in Maine.
Man.
So
work straight census workwear.
That's a good commercial.
We've got the czars of offensive line breakdown. So what was better? What changed? Was it just the repetition? Was it they got sorry.
Randy Quaid.
I'll tell you, Randy Quaid, that was great. I'll tell you, the first play of the game, I was like, wow, they broke out something new. They did quick game and they got their hands down or whatever they did, and they ran it only one other time. Yeah. And so I was like, oh well.
And they had a screen.
They tried. They did a screen.
They did quarterback sneak.
They did full slides. They're continuing the quarterback sneak deal, which I love.
I'm telling y'all, they listen to this show. I swear to God.
It's a huge coincidence.
Well, what they did with the quarterback sneaks against South Carolina, I was like, are y'all seriously Olin and everybody with a pulse?
And it was great. But the first half they would do some full slides and guys were trickling in. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
It was very annoying to watch that early on, and whatever they were doing, I'm not gonna get into that. But they flipped the script in the second half where they ran those same plays, but they didn't mess them up, and they were efficient and effective. I'm sure you could look up the stats of first, second half, but I mean it was like a night and day difference. And had they been executing like they did in the second half and the first half, it would be a completely different game than we're talking about. But they didn't, you know what I mean? So it's just like we've been doing this whole season or in this whole show. It's frustrating to see because they can do it, and they did it. They proved that they could do it, but they just didn't the first half. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what you can attribute that to, but it didn't work out. But they have the talent up there. I have no doubt that we're going to go out and dominate against Mississippi State. I know that's crazy possibly to say, but I have no doubt that we're going to do that.
Yeah. Even with their twists and turns and all that they do.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are a bad matchup for the Aggie O-line. Yeah. I think they're going to come after them because I think they know, enough to know Max Johnson's hurt. I'm sure Jimbo was pissed that came out as quickly in the way it did because Max did finish the game. That could have been something in a perfect world where you take the field at game day and you realize he's not. But I think he's banged up enough that I don't think you're seeing him. So I think you're going to see a quarterback that's never played.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I've heard some
him?
Good things from practice this week in terms of kind of throwing on the run and escaping and then looking over the top and but I mean this is SEC football. Defense held KJ Jefferson to 3 points a few weeks ago. They're not good, and over time you can outlast them. And I think A&M will win, but
it's one of those. It'll be one of those games where the offensive line, it's on your shoulders, boys.
I don't have a bookie.
You'll cover your guy.
But if I did, I'd bet Mississippi State to cover a million times out of a million.
It does feel like
I might have done that even without.
I mean,
with Max playing.
I love our offense. I love our ability to go do things. 18.5 is. That's laughable.
Well, let's talk about the flip side. Is Will Rogers going to play? He's been returned to practice in some capacity. We don't know exactly what. I had Darnett say he'd be. I forget what he was cryptic about it. He wasn't definitive.
We had an insider say that it's been the same case the last 2 weeks.
For weeks, yeah. So, they're not going to put that kid in harm's way at this point in the season if he's not ready. Without Will Rogers, even with him, that offensive struggle, but without him, I think you win this game defensively for A&M. And they're getting their corners back. And I think good. That could be you look for that to be a dominant game for the Aggie defense.
That's the thing is I think our D-line is just going to tear apart Mississippi State's offensive line.
Yeah. They're not going to score.
Aggie defense should have a little something to prove this week. And I don't mean just because you had two young freshman corners, but I mean in general, you were on the field to win the game. You didn't get to stop. You had a quarterback throw for, 376 or whatever it was. You gave up. You did a much better job against Judkins this year, but he still went over 100 on you. Every time it felt like they got inside the 10, they just popped it in on you. Mm-hmm. You had a receiver mossing your guys all day. It wasn't a good.
That guy's good. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the receiver, running back, quarterback were. Was that as good as A&M seen this year? The three?
Harris?
The three. Like I'm saying.
If you're talking three, yeah, sure.
Because Bama had the quarterback on that day. I think Jackson Dart's he's a better passer than Milroe. But on that day, the quarterback was great on the deep ball. The receiver was awesome, Burton. But Judkins is a better running back than Jace McClellan. So I think that was the best three-headed monster they faced this year, and all three of them did well. Yeah. The biggest credit I give, though, guys, is to Jackson Dart, because I think he got rid of the ball so many times and kept them out of being behind. Yeah,
that was the theme of their day, and I guarantee you that was what Lane was preaching. Is like they're going to get to you, get rid of the ball.
Yeah,
and that's as much as I despise the guy, great thing to tell your quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was probably one of the things that we did good on offense as well. We talk about how are we successful in the second half. Go look at first and second down.
Yeah.
We were actually gaining yards. Yes. We weren't in second and 10, second and 9 every time.
How many times did Max get sacked Saturday?
Was it one?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was one time. I'm getting the stats up one time.
One time.
And then we got them one time.
How many times did he get sacked after the first quarter against South Carolina last week?
It was the second drive, and that was it.
Yeah. So for in the last 7 quarters, let's just say 7. In the last 7 quarters, A&M's given up 1 sack. And against an Ole Miss defense that currently ranks 3rd in the SEC in total defense, A&M scored 28 points. Bronny's big on this stat that, he didn't look up, but someone passed on to him. He's pawned it off as his own. That A&M has, they only scored 28 points despite getting 30 first downs, and that's some damning indictment on the offense. I look at it as, first of all, you left a very easy 7 on the board with that interception. That was a disastrous pick.
That first drive, that number, in the third quarter.
That explains in one.
And that was a lot of first downs on a drive.
That explains
and you left a field goal.
In one decision. That explains in one decision why you weren't at 35. Yeah, and you got a field goal block. It's very simple. That conversation's nothing if you're saying, they scored 38 points and had 31st. That's not even a talking point.
I don't.
The offense, my point is the O-line is doing better.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done it against this past week against a better team. And as a result, shocker, the offense has done a lot better. Yep. And my question is, can that continue with quite likely your 3rd string quarterback? That's hard to imagine.
You know what? I think one of the studies now that we've actually got this NIL and all that stuff is to figure out what are the most effective positions. And I think you could probably go to the NFL for this too, about NIL or whatever. Mm-hmm. Is it at some point you've got to develop that skill to be able to say, hey, I'm going to pay my line, I'm going to pay my O-line, and I'm going to pay my D-line. And we can figure it, like quarterback is obviously the most.
You need a general manager.
Right.
You need somebody managing your NIL funds that knows football.
In that regard, because that matters. Like, there's a reason left tackles get paid what they get paid. There's a reason DBs get paid what they get paid. And there's a reason quarterbacks get paid what they get paid.
Yep.
Like, those are probably 3 of the most and then defensive end, rush in.
I will say something else about blocking that hit again this
Billy
week.
don't want to talk about NIL.
That's all right.
What about
It's the most
You don't wanna
important
talk
thing we
about
got
NIL.
going on. I'll say that.
NIL?
Yeah, we were talking about managing personnel and how, who gets paid and who's
I
deciding
think
that.
who does it? That's one of my questions too. Like,
It has to be
you
created.
still don't have a recruiting coordinator.
That's crazy.
Whose fault is that?
Went.
I mean, okay.
That's wild.
And who is like?
So who's
That would
coordinating?
be the conversation I would have if I was a true like decision maker at A&M. Would be, hey guys, like, what's the plan for this? Why is there not a GM? Why is there not like? You are literally in 2023 dealing with a salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with, you need a GM. Roster management is at
For sure.
And I'm not saying there's
fundraiser.
none of that. I'm not saying there's none of that going on. But I mean, that's got to be as important now as
Like an actual title
recruiting.
position.
I completely agree.
And
with
I
what
know
you're
they
saying.
made a nice, and no one talks about. There's an interesting NFL hire up there, but I don't think that's in the role of GM and making those. Is like you have to be able to sit down. I think coaches, your GM, your recruiting team, and everybody, pretty much, I would think weekly, if not on some level daily, and say, hey, you know what? Seth McKinney, our center, is unhappy. He might leave.
Mm-hmm.
USC and Henson are talking to him, whatever. He might leave. And then you have to say, you have to make the decision. And it's ultimately the head coach, it'd be Jimbo's decision of let him go. Because we've got Steve, we've got Nuno, we've got Liucci. We can let him go.
Yep.
For the amount of NIL that he's going to command. I'll get a different center, and we can go get a starting corner. We can get 2 for 1. We're a better football team. If a receiver's doing that, you can say, okay, this receiver's going to make up a number off the top of your head. Go ahead.
20 receptions.
No.
500,000.
$500,000.
We're just talking about money? Okay.
$500,000. This guy's going to demand a $500,000 NIL, and he's going to get it somewhere.
I was thinking production,
Well, for
what's
that
worth?
much, I could have got Keon Coleman and an all-ACC first-team cornerback last year. Or I could have got a starting tackle and Keon Coleman. So you're in a better position at receiver, and you've gone out and you've bolstered your offensive line. So it can't be willy-nilly.
Sure.
I mean, there's
Do you
gotta
know
be
why it
so
can't
much
be willy-nilly?
coordination
I
and
agree.
structure to
Yes,
that.
and let me tell you, I guarantee you, it is harder to do this in college than it is in the NFL.
Oh, God,
and like
yeah.
we're taking this so lightly that it's so frustrating to see what's going on, and the people that are over it just like not care. It almost feels like, because it's so important and so vital, but it's being treated. I don't know.
I don't think it's a
of
not
how
care at all. I think it's just I question the organization structure, like the grand plan.
Well, that's what I'm saying too.
Master plan.
And it's harder in the NFL where they've got all these positions doing it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's do everybody's favorite segment, the Freak of the Week.
It's the freak of the week.
When did we start that? It feels like years ago.
I think it was the very first time we did
It's
it.
like, I don't know why.
Just kind of rolled off the tongue.
Definitely before I got here.
Yeah, he was like, nothing that dumb would still exist.
It's like the same amount of syllables as the Three Companies song. Just kind of fit.
So who's going to go first?
I'll go. I'm going to go with Walter Nolan again. I know I picked him a lot this year, but I think that he's going to have a great game against this offensive line. He's going to need to have a great game, impact this the running game, the passing game, everything they've got going over there. And I think that's where we're going to win this game, and where we win a lot of games is the impact of our defensive line. But we're going to need him.
Okay. Walter Nolan for Seth. Who do you got, Steve?
I'm going with Amari Daniels. I think this is listening to Billy. This is going to be a game where we're going to need to be able to run the football effectively, and maybe having a quarterback that's a running threat, helps open some of that up, because it does affect the defense and how they play you. So, let's get Amari Daniels over 100 yards this week.
Okay.
Freak of the Week, Billy.
You picked him as the freak of the week.
I did.
I would have thought maybe sleeper of the week.
could've.
I liked it for that one. Freak of the week. Who am I going with here? I'm going to go. I'm thinking of the matchups here with Mississippi State. I'm thinking of a QB. Potentially, they're going to have some issues there. I'm going to go with Shamar Turner. A bounce back, a motivated Shamar Turner. He got kicked out of the game.
He gets to play the first half, right?
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's not.
I didn't know how it worked.
I didn't know that either.
I think that's for targeting.
Just targeting.
I think. I'm pretty sure they said.
Jimbo said in the pressure, he'll be back.
I'm going to go with a motivated Shamar Turner with something to prove. They're going to try to run it a little bit to take the pressure off the quarterback. Shamar's good against the run. I think in particular, I might even go him and McKinley. Jackson McKinley with his last crack against a home state school, being a senior from Mississippi. I think those two guys wreak a little havoc up front in the trenches.
Okay.
Nice.
Now it is time for the Sleeper of the Week presented by the Sleep Station. Go see Jared McLeod and ask about the Tempur-Pedic and the purple mattress in the special.
I'm asking, Jared. Jared,
holler.
Tempur-Pedic. I've done a little research. I think
Are you
Tempur-Pedic
thinking about it
over the purple.
All right.
Purple's new. I like the
established.
I've got a Tempur-Pedic. It's good.
Okay.
All right.
Tell the difference.
Thank you, Mr. McLeod.
Yeah.
Mr. McLeod.
Hey, I'm just vouching for you.
Texas and Harvey in front of the Lowe's at William D. Fitch and Highway 6. Website, thesleepstation.com. All right, Steve, you go first. Sleeper of the Week.
Okay. I don't know. I don't actually know his full name.
That's good.
I know you're picking.
That's who I'm picking. The possible quarterback, Henderson.
Jalen Henderson.
Jalen Henderson, yep. I mean, dude, what if he comes out and just goes nuts?
I'm here for it. Let's do it.
We're like, where the hell's this guy been all year? That's what I'm picking.
I love the what if.
Well, you stole my guy, man. Okay. Let's just, I'll load up on some sleepers. Hopefully we've got the cornerback position woken up this week and everybody's back and healthy, but that's going to be my situation. I mean, let's just pretend it's Will Rogers, so it's going to be important to try to lock that position down. And if not, let the D-line go to town and put pressure on the guy that is playing. So
okay, there we go. Billy?
Am I allowed to pick a sleeper of the week I'm not going to. I would have picked Amari Daniels as my sleeper of the week. I think
you can.
Rules. I'm not going to do that. So
you're allowed.
At receiver,
it's your show.
I don't know how much offense is gonna go this week. I think they're going to win this game off defense. And I think if I'm going to pick a sleeper of the week,
I feel like you're sleeping on our offense, man. But
I might be. I'm going to pick a sleeper of the week. I think I'm going to go. You pick Jalen Henderson.
Steve did, yeah.
I could see him making some surprising, plays where people just like, oh, this is, I'm going to go with, on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with a Deuce Harmon interception.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Deuce Harmon pick.
Pick six.
Should we?
I know better.
Should we do that?
Call for a pick six. My sleeper of the week is going to be a Deuce Harmon pick, and I am going to call for a defensive score, defensive touchdown. I don't know if it's pick six, sack, forced fumble. I'm going defensive touchdown.
I think you have the Aggies scoring at least 20-plus points.
Sidebar.
I do.
Last week, I don't think we did it. I don't think we gave
10,
up.
Maybe.
We didn't give up
23 to 10.
We didn't give up a what?
We didn't give up a special teams or defensive touchdown score last week.
No, but we
right?
did get a kick blocked.
Yeah,
So.
kind of significant. It stinks too because that was a game saving, potentially season saving special teams play. The most dramatic turn of events we've seen since Devon Achane running the kickback for the touchdown. I mean, I know Anias had a return since then, but that was like such a massive momentum swing.
And it was going to be good, dude. It was
going
to be good.
It kept the same.
The kick was going to be
trajectory.
good. He drilled it, and it's one of those years, man.
It is.
Again. All right.
One of those. And for Jimbo, it's like it's one of those.
Sorry.
For Jimbo, it's like it's one of those tenures. It's like we can go and talk so much about, God, he's got to be just like.
Who sings it? What might have been?
Garth. No.
no.
Little Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
What might have been.
Number 3, Michigan, 9-0. At number 10, Penn State, 8-1.
At Penn State.
Beaver Stadium, Fox broadcast, Michigan, with the sign stealing scandal still happening, favored by 4.5.
What time is that game?
Michigan's been really good. Michigan has played no one. It's on the road. It's a whiteout.
It's 11 a.m. though.
Penn State hadn't won a damn thing that matters, it feels like.
I don't even know what this is.
I don't know why in the new studio, we won't have glass.
That's going to be nice.
I don't know what he's saying.
People try to talk to us.
I think he's talking about, what's his
like
name?
we can hear you through the glass.
Stallion. What's his name?
Hunter Stallions?
I think that's what he's doing.
I'm picking Michigan. I'll be
Seth still believes.
non-dramatic about it.
Yeah. I'm going to go Michigan too. Only because it's 11. If it was a night game, I probably would have gone Penn State.
I'm going to go. I'm actually going to go. I need to make up a game here. I'm going to go.
Yeah, you do.
I'm still going to go Michigan. 4.5. I almost want to say Penn State to lose by a field goal or win.
I can see that.
You know what? It's a whiteout.
At 11.
But in the Big Ten, the 11 a.m.s are that's
Big
like what
noon.
they do.
It's a big deal, but
Big
still.
noon kickoff with the crew.
It's just a different
Can't
crowd.
stand
no matter
Fox
what.
and their. I'm going to go because of that. I'm going Penn State.
Penn State it is.
Because of that.
Let's actually let the angry elephant news and social center take over. Hannah, you do the next few games.
All right. Well, the next one is number 8, Alabama at Kentucky, and Alabama is favored 10.5.
I'm going Alabama.
Yep.
All day. Alabama.
They could have a letdown, but a letdown I think still is a 14-point win for Bama. I'm going Bama. I think their defense got touched up a little bit against LSU. I think Nick Saban gets them ramped up and pissed off. I like Bama in that one. Kentucky's hosted a lot of important home games this year, haven't they?
Yeah, they
It
have.
seems that way.
This next one, I'm a little torn on, guys. Let's go to Hannah.
This next one is number 13, Tennessee at number 14, Missouri. Missouri's favored by 1.5.
So let me just say it because people get mad. I'm not telling you what to do here, but Luther Burden is questionable.
That's the receiver for
Yeah.
their
Missouri.
stud
He's
receiver.
Which I
questionable.
think could be a burden for the Tennessee defense.
Burden of hope.
All right. I'm picking Tennessee.
Oh, let's get a text. I saw you making fun of me.
Seth's going Tennessee.
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
that.
man.
It's a lower scratch.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to make up a game on you this week. I'm going to go Tennessee also, especially if Burden's out.
Questionable.
He's not
Question
out.
saying he's out.
not
I
out.
don't care if he's
Questionable.
out.
He's pretty damn good.
Yeah,
I know
that
he's
makes a
good.
difference. If he's playing, I would probably go Missouri at home. So
Questionable.
I'm going to put Tennessee for now. I'm going to pencil that in.
1.5 means almost nothing to me.
How long do we have to change
No,
this?
no,
till
don't
When the
start
show
this
ends, it
game.
ends.
That's it?
exactly.
Unless there was a reason.
Tennessee is a zip big dip away from home.
Yeah.
They're a big dipper. Oh, they're like the Aggies, except they actually have one away from home. They went and won at Kentucky. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win at Mizzou in a close one. That should be one of the more exciting games of the weekend, I think.
All right, Anna.
All right. Number 18, Utah at number 5, Washington. Washington's favored by 9.5.
Oh, man, I really
watch the
hate
Pac-12,
picking
dude.
these games. So bad, dude. The Pac-12.
Look at Utah at
the worst.
7-2. I watched them lose earlier this year on a Friday night before we played
Florida game?
Arkansas. No, they beat
No,
Florida.
they beat Florida, yeah,
but I was
sorry.
watching that game, and I'm even against Florida. I'm like, this Utah team they ain't got it without.
Yeah.
And
Cam
if you had
Rising.
told me Cam Rising went,
The old pig farmer.
but here they are at 7-2.
Yeah, anyways,
That dude's an incredible coach.
he's great.
Whittingham.
He's great. I'm picking Washington because they have a great quarterback, and that matters.
They do. I'm picking Utah to cover.
Oh.
Washington to win.
Yeah, I'm going with Liucci on this one. Give me Utah to cover.
I like Utah's defense, physicality. Washington, Penix has had a great Heisman contending season. I love what Grubb does offensively as their OC, but I think they've had some weeks where they've struggled more than others, and I think Utah will create a little bit of a struggle.
Yep. Hannah.
All right. Next up, we have number 9, Ole Miss at number 2, Georgia. Georgia's favored by 10.5.
This is interesting. I love it, man. I'm gonna pick Ole Miss to cover this, but they're not gonna win.
I'm glad because I'd never pick against Georgia at home because they've burned me before.
Yeah,
I
they
should
have.
use
Oh, I should
spreads,
change.
and
I'm
they
not doing
always
it.
cover. So
They always do.
me Georgia.
I always have picked Georgia, but I'm
They've gotten me.
He's a big Kiffin
Lane
fan.
Kiffin's gotten me when I've believed in like the explosivity of their offense, and then it just falls
Disintegrates.
flat against real defenses. these ain't the two corners that they played against last weekend. Trey Harris, if they're going to throw those balls up like that, I think Georgia gets some picks. I am interested in how Missouri ran the ball against Georgia. And I do think this is not the Georgia defense we've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But I think actually, you know what? I'm with you, Seth. I'm going to go Ole Miss. I'm going to take the bait here. I'm going to go Ole Miss to cover.
He talked himself
Georgia,
into it.
Georgia to win. Because I think Jackson Dart, I think they can run enough. But here's my deal with Ole Miss. I don't think they're that good. I just don't think they're that good. But they keep winning. It's probably what people thought of A&M in 2020 outside of College Station.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're all that, but they keep winning. By the way, that A&M game outside of their loss to Bama was actually the closest game they played all year.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody say, well, LSU. No, actually, they took a lead earlier in that game against LSU, and LSU tried to come back and were thrown in the end zone, needing more than a field goal. That was Saturday was Ole Miss's second toughest game of the season, but all it is for the Aggies was a loss.
Another L.
Another L. Let's go back to Hannah.
I feel like I'm taking on these picks this week, but I'm in last place. But now,
No,
like,
not anymore, right?
yeah, I had a 5-1 week, but I'm last. But I'm creeping like I'm only one pick out of
week.
like
We all had a big week last
I'm
week.
2 picks out of like second.
Yeah, you are last. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
It can flip.
but I'm a pick behind OB and
it
Carolina.
can flip in
right?
1 week, though. It's close enough.
Everyone is super close.
Yeah.
All right. Last up, y'all have Mississippi State at Texas A&M. A&M is favored by 18.5.
How the line got like this, I don't know. A 17-point.
I don't know how it would have with Max.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But a 17-point victory still doesn't cover, and that's what I think we'll get.
Okay,
And so A&M will win, but will not cover.
I kind of agree with you in that range. I think A&M by at least I would say A&M by 10 in this one would be mine.
Yeah. I'm with you guys. Give me
Maybe 13. Like I said, 23-10.
Give me A&M to win and become bowl eligible. Nuno, whoop. That's improvement over last year.
I always make fun
Baby
of
steps.
I always make fun of one of our buddies because they'll sit here and come on and they would go bat crap crazy if you'd have said bowl eligibility, and they'd be the first one going crazy about Jimbo's misconstrued quote about getting bowl eligible, kind of like Kiffin did. But I always point out to him that I remember under Fran, they beat, and he knows I'm going to mess with it. He's going to text me today. Under Fran, they beat somebody to win like their 6th game, and this was in the years where they were getting to 8 or 9. Getting to 8 was something. They won their 6th game, and I was after the game, everybody was walking towards the middle of the field, and he saw me. And he rolled his helmet to me and goes, "We're going bowling, baby." And I always bring it up.
Going bowling, baby.
He doesn't get mad, but he just laughs. He's like, "Man, F you." We're going bowling, baby.
Well,
I was like,
bowling.
"Well, it was pretty good celebration, just a little roll." But then, yeah.
We're going to Houston, baby.
It's not better. It's not better than when Dat Wynn almost decapitated Rick Rigsby in '98 when you guys beat Missouri late in the game. That was
home?
Latoya Jones recovered the fumble on the punt, and that was a good Missouri team. And Dat was, celebrating in the rain, and he took his helmet and threw it up.
Oh, no.
And
Oh, no.
Rick Rigsby, who I saw a picture of Rick, Dr. Rigsby.
Doctor.
The big rig looks incredible.
Does he?
He looks awesome.
That's
He's
great.
lost so much. He looks
Good for
great.
him.
But
Ozempic.
and
I can't work hard these days, man.
Ozempic.
Hard work doesn't pay off these
I'm
days,
just kidding,
man.
Dr. Rigsby.
he
Love
looks
you, buddy.
great. And
I don't care how.
but
anybody
Dat,
gets
he
there.
almost didn't get the chance to look great because Dat threw his helmet 50 yards in the air and it landed like I could see it coming down. And I saw Rigsby running out on the field like this, and that helmet was coming, and it
Barely
just missed him.
Oh, that's
And I remember another story
is
from
reckless.
that day where
Reckless
you want
stat.
to talk about competitive and it's in the heat of the moment. And I think that game and he went up I know, because Dan's told it, and I think Dr. Rizzi told it, and he went up to Dan, and he was like, hang in there, son, young man, we're going to win this thing. Dan was so mad at the game. He goes, take your bleeping, don't bleeping touch me. You know, like it could have been you, me.
Wait, who did
Dan
this?
did that.
To who?
To Rigsby.
To Rigsby?
Yes, of all
Jeez,
people.
Dan.
He didn't know. But the funny, when you hear Dan tell the story, he didn't know it was him.
He didn't know it. Yeah.
So, like, it's like you would no one, and Dan had no idea it was him. Just someone coming up, like, hey, man, it's going to be all right. You know, in that one moment where you're like, we're losing right now.
Yeah, you're not in the
That
mood.
game was such a slog.
But that's why, hey.
Rain. And what did we win? Like 10-8 or
I think
something?
it was like, if I had to guess, I'd say 17-10 maybe.
Yeah.
Or 17-13. It was dicey.
What game was this?
Mizzou.
But
yeah.
that year y'all won.
The whole year, yeah.
That year y'all won the Big 12.
Yeah, every
so
game was
many
that
close
way.
games.
Every
but
game
you
was
won
that way.
them. And this
And
year,
that's where
so
winning
many,
becomes a culture and becomes a habit.
so many close
figure
games
out
and
how
you
to
lose
win.
them. And I just wonder, like, I see it in Ananias, and I see, but like, where's the Dan?
Exactly.
Where's the other thing I liked about it was, well, here's one thing y'all did have, and you talked about that y'all had a very veteran offensive line.
Yep. Cam,
Very
Rex.
experienced, very Samisi, you.
I just believe if your offensive line isn't like kind of the leader of the team, like the culture, the mentality of the team, then what is?
And you had
Yeah.
you had an eraser on defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know who, but they had plenty of other great players. But I mean, you had a guy that, like, fourth quarter of a game, who makes it, like, with a Dat win, and Edgerrin Cooper's had an incredible year, but with a Dat win at Ole Miss or a Vaughn, or
They're making a
you're going to
play.
make that
Yeah.
play happens on that drive, whether it's him with a sack, whether it's a forced fumble, whether it's a deflected pass or a rushed pass, whatever. One of those two guys, you're just watching that drive going, I know he's going to do this.
Yeah.
And they're just not quite there.
Not quite there.
And
Not quite there.
Well,
All right.
awkward ending.
it didn't have to be.
Well, I got to run.
It didn't have to be
I
host
think I
Nuno.
like the awkward ending, and I think you do too.
It's got to end at some point. Hey, goodbyes.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.